What is Israel's crime? It's that we have chutzpah. Let me tell you the chutzpah we have. After all, there are 56 Islamic states. There are 125 nations whose majority is Christian. And now Jews want a state of their own. How dare they? And it's so big. Don't Jews by now know that their role in history is to be scattered, dispersed, homeless, and defenseless, and now they want a space where they can defend themselves? How dare they? Friends, we dare because we are human. We dare because to be denied the right to self-defense is to be treated as less than human. Mr. Erdogan, it is anti-Zionism that is a crime against humanity. How much longer must the Jewish people have to fight for the right to be? Let me tell you, friends, what is Israel? Elena and I have just come back, just 10 days ago. We were on a series of missions in Israel. And let us remind you what we saw, what you saw, what everyone sees, but the world does not see. We saw school after school, and youth village after youth village, where children at risk or children from dysfunctional or abusive families are taken and given the care that will give them hope and a future in life. We saw youth villages where Ethiopian children are given the means suddenly to make that leap across centuries and cultures and find their own excellence. We saw the power of love to transform lives. We saw hospitals. I don't know if you've been recently to the Rambam Hospital in Haifa. In Haifa, the Rambam Hospital is building the world's largest underground hospital. Proof against bombs, missiles, chemical and biological weapons, so that when Israel's enemies decide to destroy lives, they will continue saving them. We saw the new Bar Ilan Medical Center in Safat set up to bring the finest possible medical treatment. Who to? Only to Jews? No. To Muslims, to Christians, to Druze villages throughout the Galil, because to be a Jew in Israel means you care for every life. Every life is sacred. We saw the Laniado Hospital in Netanya, a place I always visit because it moves me almost beyond words. Many of you know the Laniado Hospital was built by the Klausenberger Rebbe, a survivor of Auschwitz who during the Holocaust lost his wife and all 11 children, and there in the camps of death made an oath that if he should ever survive, he would dedicate the rest of his life to saving life. That is what I see in Israel. Every time I visit Israel, I find among Israelis, secular or religious, an absolute unswerving dedication to Moshe Rabbeinu's great command, Uvacharta v'chaim, choose life. Israel is the sustained defiance of hatred and power in the name of life, because we are the people who sanctify life. Believe you me, I have the privilege of knowing Sikh, Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, moderate Muslims. And I tell you from my experience, Israel is a source of inspiration, not just to us, but to them as well. Because it tells every single person on the face of the earth, a nation doesn't have to be large to be great. A nation doesn't have to be rich in natural resources to prosper. Israel has been surrounded by enemies, and yet it is shown that even so, you can still be a democracy, still have a free press, still have an independent judiciary. Israel is the only country in the Middle East where a Palestinian can stand up on national television and criticize the government and the next day still be a free human being. Friends, we have people who do strange things in Britain. 3 years ago, I don't know if you read this in the papers, the British atheists paid a fortune for London buses to carry a logo saying, probably, there is no God. Did you read about this? Actually, all the London buses, there's probably no God. So I wrote about this, that's a very interesting word, probably. After all, how probable is it that the universe should exist? How probable is it that life should exist? How probable is it that out of all the 3 million life forms on the planet Earth, only one, us, is capable of asking the question why? Nothing interesting is remotely probable. And then I said, think about the Jewish people. How probable is it that one man, Abraham, who commanded no empire, ordered no army, performed no miracle, delivered no prophecy, should today without doubt be the most influential man who ever lived, who's claimed as the spiritual ancestor by 2.4 billion Christians, 1.6 billion Muslims, and most of you in the room today? How probable is it that this tiny people, the Jewish people, numbering less than 1/5 of the population of the world, should have outlived, as you just heard, the world's greatest empires, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans, every empire that ever stood up to destroy us? They have been consigned to history, and still we stand and sing Am Yisrael Chai. How likely is it that after 2,000 years of exile, our people should have come back to our land, and there, having stood eyeball to eyeball in Auschwitz a mere 3 years earlier, eyeball to eyeball with the angel of death in 1948, said, despite the worst crime of man against man, Lo amut ki ehya, I will not die, but I will live. Israel is the greatest collective affirmation of life in the whole of Jewish history. Friends, Judaism is the defeat of probability by the power of possibility, and nowhere will you see the power of possibility more than in the state of Israel today. Israel has taken a barren land and made it bloom again. Israel has taken an ancient language, the language of the Bible, and make it speak again. Israel has taken the West's oldest faith and made it young again. Israel has taken a shattered nation and make it live again. Friends, let us not rest until Israel's light shines throughout the world's great symbol of life and hope. Amen.